So, very big news announced this week. New Japan Pro Wrestling is returning to throwing live events. They haven't thrown a live event since February. So, 4 months. It's going to be 4 months, a little under 4 months that New Japan Pro Wrestling went without any live gate. And live attendance and live shows are a bigger part of New Japan Pro Wrestling's business model than some companies that you see in North America. And during this time, they didn't release a single wrestler, not one from their roster. Everybody kept their jobs. And other companies have done that. Like AEW didn't release anybody, but AEW's been making money this entire time. They aren't getting live gates, but they did a pay-per-view, which brought in over 100,000 purchases for a $60 pay-per-view. That's some money right there that they brought in. And they're making money from their TV deal with TNT and TSN in Canada and Fight.tv internationally and the other channels that they're on. And not that New Japan Pro Wrestling, I mean, they have TV deals, but a larger percentage of their revenue is believed to come from live events than is for other companies. But despite going 4 months with no live events, not a single wrestler was let go. And that's great for wrestling. Because one thing about wrestling is the more jobs there are for wrestling, the better it is for wrestling. Because more people will go into wrestling if it's secure employment, if you can make more money. And then the talent pool is larger. And just better wrestling comes out of that. So that's good that New Japan Pro Wrestling did that. Now on Tuesday this week, they announced that they're returning to live events and they are returning with the New Japan Cup 2020. And this tournament was originally canceled. I guess it was just postponed. I mean, now that they're doing it. But this annually held every year in March. Little bit of a change this year. They're going to a 32-man format over a 16-wrestler format. And for this tournament in particular, both junior heavyweights and heavyweights will be competing against each other. The winner will take on Tetsuya Naito for both the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP Intercontinental Championship at Dominion, which will be held in July. And they're going to run it at 33% capacity. So fans will be in there. They're expecting about 4,000 fans. So if you've been looking to get pro wrestling back with live fans again, and not just other wrestlers in the audience, you're going to get that at Dominion in Osaka-jo Hall. Everybody's going to be spread out. Everybody's going to be wearing masks. I mean, for New Japan Pro Wrestling, in the last few years, lots of people have been wearing masks. But we're finally going to get fans back. They'll be spread out, but they'll be inside Osaka-jo Hall. So, New Japan Pro Wrestling back at it starting Monday, June 15th. They've got sort of a mystery show. No matches announced for it. It's called Together Project Special. Which it sounds nice, doesn't it? It sounds like we're all a part of this show. We're all working on it together and it's going to be special. There's going to be no spectators for that. But then on Tuesday and Wednesday of this week, we get the first matches in the New Japan Cup. So let's just preview the matches that we're going to get Tuesday and Wednesday of this week. Next week, we'll look at the other matches as well. All right, so on Tuesday, these are the matches. We got Togi Makabe, Yota Tsuji. Then we got Tomohiro Ishii versus El Desperado, Toru Yano versus Jado, and Tomoaki Hanma versus Hiromu Takahashi. And Hanma versus Takahashi should be a good match. I would imagine that that's going to close the show. But 32-man tournament, the opening round matches, there's going to be a lot of matches here where you sort of know who's going to win. Makabe versus Tsuji. Maccabee, probably the heavy favorite going in there. Ishii, probably well, I don't know. I mean, Ishii I'd put as the favorite over Desperado. But you never know. Desperado could, do something dirty, underhanded to get an upset victory. Yano versus Jado, of course, that's going to be comedy. I'd imagine that Yano's going to win, just so there's more Toru Yano matches throughout the tournament, but that's not really set in stone. Hanma versus Takahashi. I'd probably rank Takahashi as the favorite in that match over Hanma, but you never really know. New Japan sort of does a good job of throwing in some upsets there just to keep everybody on their toes. You don't want wrestling to be too predictable. You shouldn't go into every match knowing who's going to win. There should be a few upsets there to keep you on your toes. But that's the lineup for Tuesday in terms of the tournament matches. I don't know if they're going to have a lot of the preliminary tag team matches that they do on shows with spectators. They might just do the tournament matches because, again, no live crowd. It's not like the live crowd's going to be, we only saw 4 matches? Boo! They're not there. So it might just be the tournament matches. We'll have to see. I don't know. Then on Wednesday, there's 2 very interesting matches on this show. We got Okada versus Gato. So you got Okada going up against his former manager who turned his back on him and aligned with Jay White. I would imagine Gato and his Bullet Club cronies are going to try something underhanded here to give Gato a shot against Okada. Then we got Yuji Nagata versus Minoru Suzuki. That will be a lot of fun. It's been months since anybody's seen Minoru Suzuki, and you might wonder if Minoru Suzuki has something devious planned for Yuji Nagata. He always has something devious planned, but maybe something particularly devious due to the long time off he's had between matches. Umura versus Kanemaru and Gabriel Kidd versus Taiji Ishimori are the other 2 matches. So that's Tuesday and Wednesday's lineup for the New Japan Cup. And so in terms of this tournament, a lot of wrestlers from North America, from Europe, from Australia or New Zealand, they're not involved in the tournament this year due to travel restrictions, due to sort of the late notice of this tournament starting up again. So you've got guys that, Bad Luck Fale is not in there. Jay White's not in there. Zack Sabre Jr. is. Will Ospreay is not. So when you look at the brackets here, which is up on your screen if you're listening and watching the video version, anytime Okada is in a tournament, I always figure Okada's the favorite. In terms of like storyline, who's the best wrestler, like who's the best at winning wrestling matches, there's no question about it in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Kazuchika Okada is the best at winning wrestling matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I mean, obviously Naito beat him, but it still feels like, okay, Naito can beat Okada, but if they were to wrestle 10 times, Okada would beat Naito more than Naito beats Okada. But maybe that's changing. So I feel like Okada is... Well, yes, I definitely feel like Okada's the favorite. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to win. But I would rank him as the favorite. So he's on the left side of the brackets, which is where Tuesday and Wednesday's matches all take place. And if you look at the others on the left side of the brackets, who could possibly win the tournament, maybe Minoru Suzuki, seems unlikely. Maybe Hiromu Takahashi. You could finally do Takahashi versus Naito. That's a possibility. But it seems like coming outside of the left side of the brackets, Okada making it to the finals seems like the most likely occurrence. But again, this is New Japan Pro Wrestling. They'll keep you on your toes. Not everything you expect to happen is going to happen. Then on the right side of the brackets, Hiroshi Tanahashi. I mean, anytime he's in anything, he's got to be considered a heavy favorite. Not so much as Okada anymore, because the story with Tanahashi is he was the best for 10 years, but now he's a little bit older, not quite as good. Other wrestlers who could come out the right side of the bracket, possibly in this tournament, Kota Ibushi. Of course, Kota Ibushi could be right there. Kota Ibushi could win the New Japan Cup, could go on to face Naito in the main event of Dominion. That'd be great. Kota Ibushi. I'd rank him maybe a little bit more of a favorite to make it to the finals than Tanahashi on the right side of the brackets, but they're both right there. And then you've got, maybe Gato would make it to the finals. Gato has a history of doing well, but then say coming up short. I think he's had 8 different cracks at the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and hasn't managed to win it once. But that's the New Japan Cup. And of course, it'll continue on the 22nd and the 23rd with the first round matches on the right side of the bracket. And we'll cover that more next week. But a lot of fans rejoicing at the fact that New Japan Pro Wrestling will be back next week. And they'll be back with fans on July 12th in Osaka-jo Hall for Dominion.